Folks, you know, we used to invest in research and development in this country, about 2.4% of all that we did, making us the leading country in the world in change in research and development. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. They're eating our lunch. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. They're eating our lunch economically. They're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in research and development.
Hello, business owners. My name is Daryl Guberman and fellow citizens. My name is Daryl Guberman. I'm the CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. We've been open now going on 13 years as of 2024. August. This title of the video is Xi Jinping. There he is. Xi Jinping gauges Biden's warning that China will eat our lunch. QA expert Daryl Guberman explains. And it's based on these two videos, which are going to be down below. Coma reveals how Biden received laundered Chinese money. Yes, you should be crying, Joe. This is correct. Grassley Johnson released bank records tying Biden family to CCP-linked individuals and companies. Now, I'm going to say this, my fellow citizens and business owners. Maybe I should run for president because right now you got Drek out there. I watched that. Was it a debate? Yeah, I think. But next week, okay, right now, it's November 11th, 2023, and he's going to be meeting Xi Jinping next week for a meeting. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be a bullshit meeting because Xi Jinping, his buddies have been financing the Biden family. You think so? That's right, Joe. Keep on crying because the American people have to know this. And Daryl Guberman is going to tell you why. Very briefly. You have the American National Standards Institute is deeply involved with China, deeply involved with Iran and Pakistan because they sit, you'll see, ANSI and ANAP. Okay, the American National Standards Institute is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental corporation that has both federal agencies and corporations on board like the FBI, CDC, NIH, DOD, DOJ, etc., etc. Okay? You have corporations like Lockheed and Lockheed Martin, you have Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, etc., etc. In 2015, Randy Doherty, then the vice president of ANAB, the chairman of the IF, and also the principal on the IF tax report, handed over leadership to this communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who is mandated, as I will show you, who's mandated to take our data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. You can't make this up. When he has a meeting with Joe Biden, it's going to be absolutely a comedy of errors, to tell you the truth. We get back here. So at that time, when he was handed over chairmanship after being involved with our quality since 1994, he was also the chief executive of the China National Intelligence, China National Accreditation Services in Beijing, China. He was standing in the laboratory in 2017 in Wuhan, China, and handed them a laboratory certification. You then come back over to the United States around 2017-18. You have a Miss Pamela Sale, the vice president of accreditation for laboratory, who said, from one laboratory to another, there are variances lacking protocol. Let's continue on. By the way, this is very important. 2017, Randy Doherty was being advertised on the DHS website as a vice president of ANAB because DHS was pushing a quality certificate that only ANSI ANAB could release. Isn't that nice? That's like having Walmart on the DHS. It's like having ShopRite. It's like having Kroger's on the DHS. But it was a private corporation like ANSI ANAB sitting on the DHS. Do you know why? Because sitting on the ANSI is the Department of Homeland Security, Phil Matheson, who was making $256,000, probably it's more now. And at that time, when he was caught, by me, of course, he was making a lot of money, $200 and some odd thousand, and it was called a royalty payment, which a royalty payment is tough to tax. The IRS cannot grab a hold of that. You know, it's up to the way they gauge what a royalty payment means. So you have Phil Matheson on the DHS, you have Randy Doherty sitting there, and we have cybersecurity issues because you have an American with a communist Chinese national who's mandated to take your data through the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. The reason why it really gets bad is, let me just show you this. You have the IF and ILAC. The International Accreditation Forum is incorporated in Delaware. It's got many foreign companies on board. You have ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Corporation in Delaware. Both ANSI and ANAP are underwriters for both of these organizations. Okay, they're underwriters. That means they take full legal responsibility for anything that may go wrong in the quality system of accreditation bodies that register companies for ISO certifications, whether it's aerospace, automotive, medical, etc. Okay. So they are underwriters. Now the factor that ANSI and ANAP sat on the IAF, which was run by Communist China between 2015 and 2021. And the funniest thing, again, is that they were sitting right over by Iran and Pakistan, who are equivalent in accreditation to ANSI ANAP. They're equivalent. That means they could basically come over here and do an audit. I know what you're saying. It's impossible. No, well, that's the role. I have a letter from Randy Doherty that says an IAF MLA, which is a multilateral agreement organization, or an MRA, which is a multi-regional agreement organization, is equivalent in accreditation to ANAP, ANSI ANAP, which means Iran and Pakistan are an IAF MLA, which means they're equivalent in accreditation to ANAP. Another thing is that sitting on the IAF, based in America, is Iran and Pakistan. We have found out through the news media that Iran is subsidizing Hamas. So you have an American company who is proudly waving the Pakistani flag, which harbored Osama bin Laden, and also the Iranian flag, which I'm only saying this about the politicians, not about the people. Let me just say this. On American soil, you got Iran and Pakistan already here. Isn't that a tender moment? Over here, you've got an Israeli who's running ILAC, the Eddie Feller, and they don't allow Iran on board, but they allow Iran on board in Pakistan, who harbored Osama bin Laden. Unbelievable. The last and final thing I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you may say, oh, Bill Clinton. Bill and Hillary are friends of the family. He was introduced to my mom in 1971 by Abe Ribicoff. Okay, he wanted to learn about Northern politics. Well, Bill came over the house. My mom always said, Bill, one of these days you're going to be president. I was only 9 years old at the time. Hillary used to be at the kitchen table with her head in a book, and that's it. But Bill was the gadfly. He'd be walking around. This is my mom and Bill in 1996. It's over 30 years ago, or close to it. I asked my mom, I said, because I was in school, Betty Curry would always be calling me. You would check it out. That's his secretary, always leaving me voicemail. Mr. Guberman, we'd like you down in the White House for a helicopter takeoff, East Lawn, or whatever the heck it is. That was years ago. I never went because I was going to school. I just couldn't get there. Some of you will say, but Daryl, that's a president of the United States. To me, it was only Bill Clinton. That's all. Not a president. He was just a human being. So I asked my mom, what did he say? And you know what he said? He said, Sylvia, he says, I'm trying to do some good things for America, except I can't open my mouth because it's not good if I say this. It's not good if I do that. And now most recently, 30 plus years later, you have Vladimir Putin, who was interviewed, and he's going to be in the description as well. And he said, I've been through 3 administrations in America for America. And each one of them, had great and, unbelievable things that they were going to do for the country. As soon as they got into office, 6 months later, they became, I'm going to say the word he didn't, they became like eunuchs, nothingness. They didn't do anything. And do you ever wonder when they're giving the State of the Union address, and it's, their term of office, let's say 2024 to 2028 would be whoever gets in. And they say, well, the new infrastructure program will start in 2056. When the people who are listening to him will probably be dead before that. My telephone number is 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS at yahoo.com. And I want you to listen to this one more time, ladies and gentlemen, because you can't make this up.
We used to invest in research and development in this country, about 2.4% of all that we did, making us the leading country in the world in change in research and development. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. They're eating our lunch. But we now do 0.7. The Chinese are eating our lunch. They're eating our lunch economically. They're investing hundreds of billions of dollars in research and development.
Maybe I ought to run for president. That would be a better choice. Unbelievable. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, DARYL, at yahoo.com. And the last message I'm going to leave for you who are listening. Thomas Paine said this: when speaking the truth, it is many times like administering medication to the dead. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen, that you're not dead.